It felt really hard when someone would say, like, well, you just need to have faith. And I was like, you have no idea how much faith I am trying to exercise right now. Like, I swear I'm doing everything in my power. You don't know the hours I'm spending on my knees and in my scriptures. I think that I had a unique experience in that I didn't engage with a lot of anti-Mormon literature, like
Yeah.
the common things. It wasn't, for me, it was much more personal. It was things I was battling inside, doubts that had come up, things that I couldn't reconcile personally. And so then when those conversations were so centered on just trying to teach so often, I feel like I did end up losing time that was precious with loved ones.
Why I Stay family, welcome back to another Listen In episode. If this is your first Listen In episode, let me tell you what's going on. This idea came to me as I was receiving a lot of comments and sometimes antagonism on Instagram from people who had left the church, and just felt very heavy. Like it felt like I couldn't handle it healthily. And the comment section is not a good place to have a conversation with somebody about something so important as a faith transition. And I just felt like, you know what? Maybe I could sit down and learn by the grace of these people willing to come on to listen to people who have had radically different experiences in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints than I have. And the response has been amazing. I cannot believe the people just coming out of the woodwork saying, I really thank you so much. This is exactly what I needed, and other things like that. And I'm just blown away because honestly, I felt like God inspired me to do this, and I'm just sitting in the chair and stumbling my way through it, probably saying all the wrong things, but trying. And my hope is that you could learn from my mistakes, or you could learn from these questions, these discussion topics, to go and have these same conversations with your friends and your family who may not believe the same way as you do anymore. Because the way forward is not to be afraid of broaching these topics and being in a place where everyone's just quiet because nobody wants to rock any boats or we're afraid of what will happen afterwards. Fear is not of God. And so before we get into this episode, listeners, I always am trying to find a scripture to go along with it to just set the tone of what I'm hoping to get out of listening listening in today. This is 1 John 4:12. It says, "No man hath seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us." So if we love one another, we invite God to be with us. And in that process, he perfects the love. So if our love is not full or complete or perfect yet, the pathway to there is what the scripture tells me is by opening my heart and trying to love. And in that process, God will perfect the love little by little and help me to love people who are different from me. So with all of that being said, I'd like to remind you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is where all of these Listen In episodes are coming out. So make sure you don't miss even one single one. Click the subscribe button and then the notification bell. So Kayla has been waiting so patiently here for me to say all of my stuff. I'd like to say hello to Kayla and pronounce your last name for me so I don't butcher it.
Edgel.
Edgel. Okay, I didn't know where the G was in there. We never know if it's giraffe or, the just sound. Okay, Edgel. So Kayla Edgel, welcome to the Why I Stay podcast for a Listen In episode. I'm really, really happy and excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm thrilled. I'm really excited.
All right, so we're going to do some rapid fire questions to get to know Kayla on a surface level, and then we'll get into our discussion. So Kayla, are you ready for this?
As I'll ever be.
There's no more time to prepare. Here we go. Kayla, how old are you?
I'm 26.
Do you have any nicknames?
My dad calls me Pete.
Cute. What state do you live in?
I live in Arizona, but I grew up in Utah.
What is your favorite food?
I love steak. Any red meat, pretty much, no matter how it's prepared.
There we go. We got a carnivore here. What is your current hobby?
I'm really into crochet and reading right now.
Are you reading a good book? You have a good book recommendation?
I'm reading The Silent Patient right now. I'm like fully immersed in that and I've loved it. I just finished The Night Circus as well, which was amazing and very clean. I know that sometimes it's hard to find fantasy books that are like appealing to all audience. but that is a really good recommendation that I would have.
Yay. I always need to catch myself, like, careful, careful, because once I read, I just get sucked in and everything else goes by the wayside until it's done. So I need to start reading Night Circus at the right time. Great
Yes,
recommendation. Thank
for
you.
sure.
What is a controversial opinion that you hold? Like, everybody loves Crocs, but you hate them.
I think The Office is overrated.
I've had a couple people say that on this show, and I'm with you. I don't know why. I just like never got into it, and everyone's like, "You know that episode?" I'm like, "Don't ask me that question anymore." Like you know I don't know
People
that
always
episode.
ask, like, do you know this episode of The Office? Or they'll quote it and look
Yeah.
at me with, like, very
Yes.
expectantly. And I'm like,
Yes.
I am really sorry to disappoint you. I saw it once and it was good and it was enough.
Yes. That's so funny. I was just thinking we should get like these little sound things that have like the cricket noise for every time somebody's asks us about
Yes,
The Office. Okay, perfect. Kayla, what is your biggest dream?
I would love to travel to every continent at least, but
Cool.
I also want to make it to every Disneyland in the world. I think that would
Nice.
be amazing.
Yeah.
And then I guess on like a more real note, I just want to be a mom. I want to have a family and a career and just be happy.
Oh, I love it. The last question for these rapid fires. What is something about you that is the same now as it was when you were in high school?
I still live and die by music. I'm obsessed with Spotify and finding new music, but I still am obsessed with Taylor Swift's 1989 album, and I have not grown out of it. So
All
that's
right.
probably it. I'm always listening. I have an earphone in all the time.
Right now. Are you listening right now?
I know.
I'm just
It's
kidding.
Taylor Swift, actually.
Perfect. Well, let's roll that in the background. I'm sure she wouldn't have any problem with us using her song in my episode.
None. Absolutely none.
Thank you, Kayla, for letting me dig into your personal life a little bit. So let's go deeper now. Let's get into the discussion questions. So my first one for everyone is to start out with, like, let's talk about your background in the church. Did you grow up in the church, or was your family active, not active, or you're a convert? All that. Where does your story in the Church of Jesus Christ begin?
So it began at birth. I was born into the church. Both my parents are members. My mom was baptized at 8 years old, but her mom converted when she was 7. So she considers herself a semi-convert. She was a child and really was raised in the church. She's like a first generation. So, and then my dad comes from like pioneer members. So,
Yeah.
I was raised in the church, and then I like went on a mission, came home, and I went to BYU, taught at BMTC. And along the way, like both my older siblings left the church when I was pretty young, and my dad left kind of as I was on my mission soon after I got home. So my family was kind of a mixed bag, still is. Half my family is very active, and half has left, but grew up extremely active.
Well, that's a really unique perspective. I mean, maybe not, maybe it's more common today than I know about, but like, I just think mixed faith families is something that it's like kind of a new trending topic. It's something that's starting to crop up more in the Church of Jesus Christ, and just navigating those relationships. I had one girl on my normal Why I Stay episodes, should say woman, but I had one woman on my show that was in a mixed faith marriage where they both were married in the temple, and then her husband left, and then her daughters left also, and so she's like the only one still in the church, and just kind of her navigating that. So it's going to be, I think, interesting to hear from your side of the story as well. So tell me where do you currently fall on the LDS spectrum?
So I don't consider myself a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints anymore, but I also know how much it means to like my still active family members that my records still be in the church. So like I haven't removed my records because I know what it means to my family, and culturally that's my heritage. That's how I grew
Yeah.
up. I don't attend church, and I am kind of actively figuring out what my beliefs are. I still am a deeply spiritual person, but I'm kind of a work in progress right now.
And I feel like all of us could say we still really are a work in progress, no matter what we consider our activity level at church or whatnot.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting. Okay, so tell us, when did you start to have a faith transition? Like, how old were you? What was going on at the time? And what did that feel like when it began?
So I feel like mine was a little unique. It might not be. But I was on my mission, and I think it was pretty natural. Like, it was the first time out of Utah having people regularly ask me hard questions, and
Yeah.
I had to sit and consider those and kind of ponder
Mm-hmm.
about those things. Um, and it was really scary as a missionary. I have obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. So when I get a thought that is like
Hmm.
scary to me, that's where the obsessive side comes in. So I
Yeah.
would ruminate on it, and it made me feel sick because I was like, ooh, I am having these questions and I am not allowed to be having them right now. And so it was very scary. And I'm so lucky. My mission president was amazing. And like, I was able to sit and talk with him, and he helped me address my mental health needs. He was incredibly supportive throughout the whole thing. So that was good. But it started there. And then it was like, I mean, a process of years. I got home and I really wanted to make it work. And I went, taught at the MTC, like I said, and just tried everything I could to kind of make it fit for me. Um, and it was heartbreaking. I kind of felt like my world was crumbling underneath me. It just felt like I had the stages of grief on repeat for years, and it was living in a lot of dissonance. It was painful. It was really hard. The reason I came on is because I had wonderful supportive family and friends that walked me through it. But it was scary. It was a hard time in my life, for sure. The hardest, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. So you said you had supportive friends and family. Was it only the supportive, like the friends and family who also were not members of the church, or were there some who were supportive of you who were still active? Tell me about that.
Most of my friends, because I was at BYU, were active members. And so I had a lot of support from them. I remember my roommate and one of my best friends, she was very active at the time. And I was crying to her one night saying, like, I'm so scared to tell our friends and be honest with people about where I'm at. And she just sarcastically like rolled her eyes and goes, yeah, it's really gonna suck to stop hanging out with you when you leave the church. And she just kind of like looked at me like, really?
Mm,
And I had other friends, like, I was really worried I was never gonna fall in love or get married, that no one would think that I
yeah.
had any value left. And I told one of my active friends, and there was a guy, he married one of my roommates, and he just was like, Kayla, do you think that we love you because of how active you are in the church? I love you because of who you are and because of the relationship we have. Like, someone else is going to love you for that. That's why people do. And so I was really blessed with like amazing friends, and
Wow.
my family that did have a hard reaction. It was just like temporary, and they did come around, and they have been, we've had a learning process together. But like, I really am lucky that even my active family is open and supportive with me now.
Tell me about like your thoughts and feelings when there was like a hard reaction, because something I'm finding is that at least on the active side of it, let's just like call it like the active members on the side of it, I struggle with over personalizing things, so that like other people's actions mean something about me. Also, problems judging people, problems setting unfair expectations on people. So I mean, working through that, like from the example of the family like having a hard reaction and then working through it, what do you think helped, and how was that for you on your side, and how did you get over that initial reaction? Because I think sometimes that immediate response can set the tone for whatever comes next. How did that work out for good for you guys?
Yeah. I was thinking a lot before I came on about like what characterized my positive and negative interactions with my loved ones who still were active members of the church.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I think what it came down to and what was hard was fear. And I love that you talked about that at the beginning of the episode. I think of the people who loved me most and were closest to the situation, and those who were still active had the strongest reactions and were terrified naturally. Like, this is someone who's sealed to me and believes that they're losing me for eternity. And so the initial, like, natural impulse is save. Um, and so the interaction just was very characterized by fear and felt like rejection. It was um, things like it made it very hard for them to hear what I was saying, I think, um, because when you're so scared and you hit the panic button, the last thing you want to do is slow down and listen.
Right.
You just want to act, you want to save. Um, but that made me feel very dismissed and like this feeling of very real, painful grief that I was going through was secondary to their need to like address their fear.
It's just so interesting because why are they going into save mode? It's because they love you and they care about you. And but what's happening is the result is not in line with what they're trying to do, right? Like their reaction to save is actually making you feel less loved, which like in our, like from my point of view, it's like, no, the reason why I care is because I care, like I care about you. And this is the only gift I can give you is to try and like swoop in. And, but yeah, so I cut you off. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to bring that to my own attention, I guess, because it's just so interesting. It's just completely the opposite result of what we're wanting.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting being like on the other side and seeing like I know the intention behind this.
Yeah.
Like I know how much this person loves me and I know how terrified they are right now. And there's nothing I can do to fix the fear. Like I can't make the fear go away and
Mm-hmm.
still be honest with myself. But then I would prickle and I was like, "Ooh, but like I'm uncomfortable. I don't like that you're not listening to me." And so I think that something that helped was like slowing down and just kind of taking a beat. I don't know a better way to put it, but just thinking about, okay, how do I respond as empathetically as possible to this and understand like this person still loves me and they're afraid. And what can I do to help them say like, I know you're afraid and I'm so sorry. Let me tell you that from my point of view, I know that because you love me, you want me to be happy and like I just wish that I could transfer. I'm at peace. I'm okay.
Hmm.
I'm healing. And just being able to have a constructive conversation where then those feelings like were validated and my loved ones were able to say like I do recognize like I see that you are happy and like they started telling me they were proud of me again, which was something that had stopped for a long time. I don't think consciously, but I
Hmm.
just, the things that they were proud of me for went away to a degree. And so then it was something like, okay, we have to find a new way to communicate that. But
Yeah.
um, it was definitely like once we were able to both like have empathy and realize, like, okay, Kayla's had to go through this extremely painful process, or she's hurting right now. And I just want to like be with her in that. And when I was able to be like, okay, my loved one loves me so much and is so scared right now and I need to be with them. And honestly, like a lot of conversation just kind of got quiet and it got focused on like I love you. And that pretty much solved it.
Yeah. I mean, so powerful, but so difficult to put into practice sometimes. But yeah, the slowing down, we're not used to that. And nobody really teaches us. I mean, I don't know that I've ever been like formally taught I mean, maybe they do in my kids' like elementary school classes now. 5 finger breath, you just breathe in and out as you trace your 5 fingers. And this is kind of a prying question. I mean, thank you so much for everything that you've said. And then kind of moving into another question. From my perspective, it seems like with my friends and family, I only hear about it when it gets to the point that they're like done. It's decided. And I mean, I don't know if that's how it was for you. But my question, I wish I could ask, and I haven't asked anybody, but it's like, why didn't you come? Like, why didn't you feel like you could come to me with this? And maybe it's that savior complex thing, or maybe it's just that I'm so vocal about staying in the church because of my podcast that like I'm not a safe place, right? Did you let any of your like close family know before it got to the point where you had decided and like you were done?
I was talking to most of my closest friends and family through most of the process. I did obviously feel more comfortable voicing like my doubts to my older siblings who had left,
Yeah.
and because I was in the beginning and for a lot of it, I felt really ashamed about those things. And
Mm,
I think part of it could just be like embarrassment. I had a lot of my worth tied up in my beliefs and being really good at having those beliefs, being really strong. And so for me, it took a lot of courage, I guess, to come to someone that I know still has this incredibly strong testimony and tell them, like, I don't. And I didn't want to be seen like less, and it was like scary. But I think even more, the people that I was most afraid to tell were the people that I was afraid to hurt. Um, because I knew this is going to rock their world. They're going to be so sad and so afraid, and I don't want to do that. It was almost like just waiting for the inevitable and putting it off because I was like, I really, really, really don't want to hurt you. And like,
yeah.
but I will say that as soon as anyone did open the door, it was like, like all came out very quickly. As like soon as I don't know. I think all it takes is just putting it out there is like I want to hear, and I think that's exactly what you're doing right now. Is putting it out there that like you can talk to me.
Actually is easier with people that like I don't have emotional like history with. You know what I mean? So I hope this translates. But like as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ and a believing member, I just would love so much to be able to give a fresh perspective on things. Maybe help people see like maybe the gospel that they what they thought was the gospel but was really cultural, like new ways to think about things. Like I would love that opportunity, but it just seems like nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it until it's like decided. Does that make
Mm.
sense? In your experience, am I wrong? And what's wrong with my perspective here? Like, what can I change?
Um, that's an interesting question because I'm thinking about my experience and like towards the beginning, I think that there were a lot of those conversations with people about like cultural versus doctrinal, and doing a lot of like study and trying to like piece out the difference. And I think that a good way to approach it, honestly, like for me at least, if at this point where it's been like a few years, I do kind of get like, okay,
Yeah.
I love you, thank you. Like I kind of did my
Yeah.
research, but
Sure.
I'm willing to like hear it. I don't want to like be rude, obviously, but I think that while I was going through it, probably the best way to approach that topic would have just been asking, like, I have some thoughts about doctrine versus culture, or there are things that like I really want to share with you. Are you in a place where you're looking for that right now?
Hmm.
If someone's expressing like, hey, I have questions and doubts about this, like I think that's totally appropriate to say like I would love to share kind of my perspective on that. are you in a place that like you feel like you can hear that? Or just even, I don't know, priming. I don't know like the perfect way to prime it, but just something to the effect of like, instead of just responding with immediately giving like these,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, but can I, like, my perspective is this, just saying like,
Are you in a place?
yeah, like, are you, is that something you're looking for right now? Do you
Hmm.
need that, or do you just need me to validate you right now? Because a lot of like, I think a lot of doors to conversation can be opened by just saying, that is really hard. That is a hard thing to sit with. It's a hard thing to feel and be battling. And can I tell you how the things that help me deal with that? But just saying, like, I get it. It makes sense that you have those questions. That's really hard. Can I tell you what brought me peace with those? And like, that's so harmless. It's just someone saying, like, hey, can I tell you what brings me peace? And then if someone's not ready at that point, like, it's not
Yeah.
because they don't love you. I remember feeling so full of so many voices and narratives. And like I said earlier, I have OCD, so if something sticks, it's in there. So when I had like opposing narratives and opinions from so many people,
Yeah.
like member, non-member alike, I had so many people who loved me trying to help me through this, but there were so many voices that it got really loud. I think that I would say validating and then saying, here's what brings me peace. Can I share it with you? And most of the time, I feel like people, if they're not looking to be contentious, I feel like they'll respond well.
Yeah. And I guess it really is like individualized, but you're so right. And that's just kind of, that is a personal problem of mine that I just always just like barrel in and like tell people like I just am so forceful with my opinions and my thoughts and the way that it should be, and it's something that I'm learning as I get older that like I need to back off. But the way that you put it, that is actionable. Validating, and then just ask, are you in a place to hear this right now? Is that something you're looking for? That is something I can do. So thank you for teaching me that and opening my mind to that. I might even start doing it on Instagram too. Like it might be better received if I'm not so intense, maybe, or just more validating. Were there any you told us about the positive experiences. Were there any negative experiences that could help me learn a little bit more? Like were there that we haven't touched already?
There's one, is just, I thrive off words of affirmation. That has been my love language and like something very important to me my whole life. And so, like I said, I think subconsciously after I had left, people stopped acknowledging any part of me aside from my faith status. These were like older people in my life, like grandparents, people who love me, and they're thinking like, "Oh, I who knows how much time I have left, so I want to make sure it counts." But it was a lot of being told like you took the easy way out, basically. I was told in roundabout ways things like, "Oh, well, if you had stronger faith." And I
Yeah.
was like, I swear I'm doing everything in my power. You don't know the hours I'm spending on my knees and in my scriptures and trying, like, I think that I had a unique experience in that I didn't engage with a lot of anti-Mormon literature, like
Yeah.
the common things. It wasn't, for me, it was much more personal. It was like things I was battling inside, doubts that had come up, things that I couldn't reconcile personally. So it felt really hard when someone would say, like, well, you just need to have faith. And I was like, you have no idea how much faith I am trying to exercise right now. Like, oh, and so then when those conversations were so centered on trying to teach so often, I feel like I did end up losing time that was precious with loved ones. And then big things were happening. I was in school and made a career change and was like doing work that I felt was really meaningful, and felt like there was a long period of time where my active family didn't tell me they were proud of me. And that was super hard. And I did voice that, and bless their hearts, now they all the time, like, could not be prouder of me whenever I do something. Like, it's a huge deal. And it's just one of those things where I think that you forget when you're so focused on saving or proving a point. Even for people who have left, your time with your loved ones is precious and there's a point to prove, but also there's a relationship to be had.
Mm.
And like that love exemplifying Christ goes so far and like can bless a relationship so much more than like teaching. I think Christ often taught with actions, and I saw that like my grandmother is a great example of that. She's just lovely and has been amazing, so good at that, and she has taught me more about faith and Christ-like love and the doctrine of the church by existing and loving me since I left than a lot of people that have like tried to talk to me.
So many good points. I'm so glad you voiced it. For me personally, and I can't speak for anybody else, but I am a band-aid ripper offer. If there's a problem you're having with me, I would rather you tell me like as soon as possible so we can work through it instead of you swallowing it, dealing with the pain and the hurt and like putting on a brave face while I'm here just like stomping on your feelings, not knowing. Years and years and years go by without you saying anything to me. And so to me, I'm just like, oh, just tell me. And I don't know if other people from the Church of Jesus Christ listening feel the same way, but I feel like that is the fastest track to healing. And I just want to invite my friends and family to be able to be honest with me if there's something that I've done or said that was hurtful, or withholding praise on. I'm sure they weren't doing it on purpose. You know what I mean?
No, of course not.
But like still, it's a real effect. You know, like just like we were saying earlier, the going in and saving, we're trying to show our love that way, but it doesn't have the correct effect. I mean, like, what's the use of a gift if the person receiving it can't receive it, right? It's not what they need. So that is very helpful to me. But that is another actionable thing that I can do is just invite people more often to be honest with me. And is there anything you'd like to tell me? Is there any way I can improve in and out of these conversations with former members, but just being somebody who feels like that? So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah. And I will say it's a two-way street, right? I think that there's also room to be honest, but when you strip away the fear, that conversation can come from such a heartfelt place of, I love you so much and I'm feeling really scared right now
Just
because
saying
this
it.
means so much to me. This blesses my life so much and I want you to have it. And it's making me really sad to see like what's happening, but I love you and I want to be here for you so bad, and I'm having a hard time navigating it. I think when you can strip it down to just feelings, it can be really productive and beautiful. And it's like I said, two ways. If you want people to receive, like us who have left, we also need to be able to listen and validate the experiences of the people that we love.
That's very insightful, and it's something that we all can work on. We're almost at time. Was there anything else that you had wanted to say or any thoughts that we didn't happen to get to in this conversation before we move to the last question?
I feel like that about covers it. Thank you. I feel like it's been very good.
Yes, I love it. I'm so grateful. This has been so helpful to me. I'm learning a ton. It's a lot to take in. Like after these episodes, I'll go to my bed and I'm just kind of like, woof, not that it's bad or anything, it's just rigorous. This process is rigorous, and that's how it feels. It's like it just takes it out of you because we're not practiced at it. And I feel like I just really want to say, and this is totally unrelated, but this is something I've felt like ever since you got on the call, and I just wanted to say it. If you're listening, not watching, you can come on to the YouTube channel and see Kayla's face. But like as soon as you got on, like you have light in your presence. And I know that in the church, a lot of times we just say, I knew they were a member of the church because they had light. Like you could just tell, you aren't a member of our church anymore and you have light. Like I can see the light of Christ shining in your eyes. I can feel it from you. And I just, personally, for me, it was kind of always like a status thing. Like, oh, I have the light of Christ. But honestly, it's not reserved. It isn't reserved for people in our church. It's reserved for the people who are truly emulating Jesus Christ. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. That means more than you know.
Let's move to your hope statement. Are you ready for the hope statement?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Here we go. Make a hope statement. What do you hope for most in the relationships between members and former members?
I just hope that we can really like embody empathy and love in our communications and be able to be brave and leave fear and pride out of the conversation, and that families can be healed. Let's stick together. It's a rough time. I hope that everybody can just love each other.
Incredible. Kayla, thank you so much for your time, for the thoughtfulness in which you have prepared for this episode, and really for the soul work that you've done to be able to be here today and share this with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Wow. Every one of these episodes, that was number 3 that I've recorded so far, and I'm learning more and more. I said to Kayla after we got off, after the first episode, I was like, I learned so much. Like, I'm good. I wonder how much more I'm going to learn. Don't say that, self. You know there's more to come when you foolishly think you know everything there is to know, which is a problem of mine that I'm working through. But I'm glad you guys are here watching me do it. It gives me more courage knowing that I can, if I just put it out there, if I just say the words, admit my faults, try to be better, maybe one episode at a time, I can become a better listener, someone like Jesus Christ, someone who listens like Jesus Christ does. And it's a sacred process, and I feel grateful and blessed to be a part of it. I'm grateful for you guys being here too. If you like what we're doing here, please leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notification button. That helps me know that this is a good direction I'm going in and you want to see more of it. And if you have suggestions, I'd love to hear that too. You can email me at whyistaypodcast@gmail.com or leave a comment on the YouTube video below. If you'd like to see a Why I Stay episode, they come out every Tuesday, and then listen-in episodes are only 8 so far. It's a limited series. I'm just doing 8 for now, and they come out every Friday. So watch for that on YouTube every Friday. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. And I always say thanks for staying with us, but let's just say thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week.